Yeah, that's nice.
What's up, guys? It's Rev J again. It's a beautiful hot summer day. I'm out in the garage again with the Hatred Copter C10, my new friend Billy the Big Bad Blue Nitrous Tank, and I got the garage door closed again. It's a little too warm for this, so we're going to try to keep this one brief. Just wanted to kind of do a rant slash vlog about something that's come up a lot and kind of come up more in recent years, and that is, what is a streetcar? Okay, so the reason this came up is that today is June 11th, and that means it's King of the Streets at Union Grove. That's the big no prep race, and if you watch Street Outlaws or any of that, follow any of that kind of forum culture, these no prep races are becoming to be a pretty big deal. And that's what a lot of people are using to define what's a streetcar and what is street racing and stuff. And I kind of wanted to address this because I've got to cover, I'll cover what I think about Street Outlaws real quick, but then what is street racing, and really truly what I want to talk about is what is a streetcar. So real quick, Street Outlaws. I don't have a problem with them as people. Chief and them are decent people. I've seen the farm truck in person. It existed way before a lot of this, 405 stuff on the TV show. They build fast cars. They're decent guys. They're not the characters they play on the show. Obviously, I don't think I'm telling you Santa Claus isn't real by saying Street Outlaws isn't real. Yes, they're real vehicles. Racing on a street, but it's a closed down street. The police know it's happening. It's a sanctioned event. There's filming permits. There's safety crews. So it's not real, but at the same time, they're real people who build legit fast cars. Okay, moving on from Street Outlaws. Street racing, okay? Racing on, like I said, a closed course that just happens to be a street is not street racing. Whether or not morally you feel street racing is good, street racing is taking place on public streets. The element of danger is part of it. I'm not saying it's a good idea to put anybody's lives at risk and stuff, but I think a good example is Sweden. If you guys watch 1320 video, I mentioned them last episode too. Sweden's got a really interesting drag racing scene where they, where they shut down the highway just temporarily. They just drive out on the highway, block it off, run a couple races, and they're out. And I like that. I think it's putting the public safety as an interest while still doing what you want to do. I don't know how much I agree with some of the stuff you're starting to see in the southern part of the U.S., like in Texas and Arizona on these big open freeways, where guys are doing like 60 to 160 races. I don't know personally that I agree with it, but then again, I build more drag car type stuff, so maybe it's just not what I'm into. So then let's get to the actual topic, which I want to talk about, and that is, what is a streetcar, right? On the Street Outlaws, they use this phrase, badass streetcars, or they did for a while use the phrase, the fastest streetcars in the country. But with the chromod and all these things, they're not streetcars. I mean, I don't think even most of them would say they were streetcars, aside from for the purpose of the show. The Corvette Daddy Dave races. That's a built pro mod. He knows that. I don't think he's necessarily claiming that's a streetcar. Let's not fool ourselves. These are not streetcars. They are drag cars being driven on the street, and that's what I want to address. So let's cut the rambling here and get to, I'm gonna pick 4 things. The 4 things I think are important to make your car a streetcar. All right. So number 1. This is a big one, and this I think is the big, if you don't fit this, you're not a streetcar at all. It's got to be able to be owned for the street, meaning, and that's a weird way to phrase it, but if it doesn't have a VIN, if it can't have plates and doesn't have plates, if it's not registered, if it doesn't qualify for any of that, it can't be a streetcar. I think having a license plate we would consider pretty much number 1 thing to qualify being a streetcar. You got to be able to register it. Woo, it is warm out here. You got to be able to register it. You got to be able to put plates on it. I mean, I've seen guys that are running chutes and huge, pro-charge F1X cars, and they're cutting their license plate out to fit the chute bracket, but it still has a plate, so it's still a streetcar. That's number 1. Number 2, I think kind of goes hand in hand with that, and it might be a cop-out, but can you get away with driving it on the street? It is quite possible to have an old VIN and an old set of plates and a current registration, from something like a 40s hot rod or whatever that's just built into a rail dragster. But if you can get away with driving it where you live, then I guess it's a streetcar. This is unfair because certain guys in California and stuff are at a disadvantage then because of some of the road laws and stuff. But, in the Midwest here especially, we can get away with driving a lot on the street. I mean, driving a 12 to 1500 horsepower car with a chute on the back is not instant grounds for pullover around here. You can get away with doing it. If there's a big event or something going on, they'll definitely forgive that. So I would say number 2 is, not only can it be driven on the street, but can you get away with driving it on the street? Number 3, again, same vein, do you want to? And this is where you guys might start to disagree with me a little bit, but I follow Jeff Lutz on Instagram. If you guys don't know who Jeff Lutz is, well, you should. And he put up something that said, if you don't have the balls to drive it on the street, that doesn't mean it's not a street car. And I think that's actually a very good point. You can have plates, you can get away with driving it, but if you don't have the sack to get in a 1,000 horsepower car and drive it down the street, if you don't know how to drive it, much like firearms, owning a high-powered vehicle has risk factors involved for you and other people, and knowing how to operate it is very important. Right? Most of us in the community won't let someone else drive our car, and it's not because we don't want to share it, or it's not because we don't think they can. It's because when you build something like this, you have an inherent bond with the vehicle, and so there are definitely plenty of cases where people will buy a built race car or a built street car or a built hot rod and come out and not be able to drive it. Good example, if we're going to use the Streetcar or the Street Outlaws reference, is the Jackie Knox situation, right? Jackie, I don't have anything against him personally. I don't know him, never met him, don't know anything about the guy. But when he gets in that Sonoma, it does not do what it did with its previous driver. Were there other changes made? Maybe. Is it a setup thing? Maybe. But it's hard not to go, okay, maybe it's at least a little related to the driver. So I'm going to say number 3 is, do you drive? Like, do you want to drive it? Can you drive it physically? Are you able to drive your vehicle? Because if not, it is not a street car, man. That thing just belongs in the trailer. All right, so number 4, and this is, I think, a pretty important one because I just mentioned the trailer, is, God, I'm absolutely sweating. It's so hot out here. Is can you put the miles on it, right? We talked about can you drive it on the street, but can you put miles on it? Being able to roll your car off a trailer and drive it a block to an event, and I've totally seen that happen. Motorcycle guys like to do that a lot too. Show up on a trailer and then ride into town. It's not a street car. To me, a street car is something that you can get in at your house, drive to a racing spot or a track or an event or whatever, even if you got to swap tires or if you pull a trailer behind you or whatever, use your vehicle for the event or for the day or whatever and drive home. You know, the drag week is the ultimate example of street cars, right? Lutz and some of these guys, you know, do they questionably qualify for some of these? Yeah, but at the end of the day, those guys are driving them thousands of miles, racing them, and then driving them again. And so that's a street car to me. I mean, that is the best, sort of the perfect description of a street car. So let's put it all together. Think about that. So number 1, can you have plates on it, right? I can put plates in the 66. I've got current reg for it. I've got plates on it. Definitely qualifies as a street car. So number 2, can you get away with driving it? Well, around here, the way this thing is set up, absolutely don't have any big issues. You know, a couple run-ins for loud noise and stuff like that, but nothing major. So, you know, definitely qualifies as a street car. Number 3 is, can you physically drive it? You know, do you have the ability? Do you want to drive it? Yeah, obviously, I drive this thing all the time. I show up to events in it and stuff, and I know how it's built. I've driven it in the rain. I drive it on these big old Mickey Thompson ET streets, which I got to swap back onto it in some pretty questionable weather. So definitely number 3, I have the ability to drive it and I desire to drive it. So yeah, it's definitely a street car. Apply these to your own situation, guys. If you haven't passed the first 3, we're to number 4, so I doubt you'd pass number 4, and that's, can you put the miles on it? Is it built well enough and set up in a way that it can be driven? All-out drag cars are sometimes not the best to drive on the street, and all-out street cruisers don't have the same performance, right? These are give and takes, but the true challenge of building a badass street car is knowing where that give and take is, knowing where your rear end range needs to be, knowing what trans is going to work for you, knowing whether nitrous, supercharger, turbocharger, big displacement, what's going to work for the setup you want, for the weight of your vehicle, for the style of your vehicle, for the uses of the vehicle. So, you know, there's number 4. I drive this thing. We built it the day after we finished building it a handful of years ago in the original configuration. We drove it right to LS Fest in Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is about 8.5 hours from Milwaukee. And then we drove it another 45 minutes to party in Nashville and drove it back without any problems. That's a street car, man. That is a damn street car. So qualifies for number 4. The Hatred Copter, definitely a street car. Think about your favorite thing you consider a street car. Do you have a street car? Do you have different qualifiers that you think make something a street car or not? You know, are my 4 wrong? Do you think my 4 don't apply? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Tell me if what you've got is a street car and why. And I didn't really want to make this about the Street Outlaws, but at the same time, if you want to put a comment about, you know, any of those guys, or if you think their cars are street cars or not, I guess that's fair to put that in there too. So please guys, like, comment, and subscribe. I have my social media up on the screen here. Just sweating my balls off here. If you didn't watch my custom bed floor video from a few weeks ago, check that out. If you didn't watch the carbon fiber exhaust exits video, check that out. I'll have links to those. Check out the channel, check out the Hatred Copter playlist, my build over on the 67 to 72 Chevy truck forums. So click right here for Billy the Big Badass Blue Nitrous Tank. He'll be going into the truck pretty soon. And let me know if there's more you want to see, guys. I'm getting too hot. I'm literally not going to be able to record this video in 5 more minutes. So I'm going to get back to what I got to do, guys. Going to a cruise in tonight, proving that it's a street car. All right, guys, I'm getting hot. I won't be able to stand it for a second longer in here. I got to open this garage door up. So thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hit all the necessary buttons and do what you got to do. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. All right, now I got to put these tires back on and change the plugs. It's too freaking hot for this.